Hey everybody, Coder Rob here, and today I'm going to go over how to make a Viking ship in EverQuest Next Landmark, kind of an advanced topic. You see the Viking ship ahead of us. I put down some blue cobalt because I kind of wanted to see what it would look like in water. That's what that blue is in front. So they kind of threw down the gauntlet and they mentioned some items they wanted to see people build, and I hate to see a nice gauntlet get dirty. So I picked that up and I tried one of the items, which was the Viking ship. This was a very hard item to build, and it took a lot of trial and error. I'm not going into a lot of detail about how everything was done, but I am going to just give you an overview of the process. So we're going to just walk through it real quick. It's got a striped sail, very traditional for Viking ships, along with shields along the side. And I'm going to go up in the center here. I really like how the deck turned out. I honestly like the way the ship looks from the inside a lot better than it does from the outside. I thought that part came together very well. The smoothing of the ship didn't go as well as I had hoped. The dragon head didn't turn out quite as well as I had hoped also, but maybe you guys could play around and show me what you can do. So I have to confess, I did a very bonehead thing. When I shot this video, I did it in 6 sections, and for whatever reason 5 of the sections didn't record any sound. So I'm watching the video and I'm overlaying sound over that. So just real quick, we're going to go over the basic of which the ship was built on. So I built the hull, and I did that using just single voxes, and I actually only built 1/4 of it. I didn't do the dragon's head. I just went from where that tail section is to just below the dragon's head. And I only did 1/4, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Then when I did the shields, I did those away from the ship. I actually built them up in the foreground. And then after smoothing the ship and smoothing the shields, I combined the two. And sometimes you can get a very strange result when you're combining 2 smoothed objects. And so I saved the ship as a template just in case I have to revert back. Then when I did the sail, I did the same thing. I did the sail in the foreground. Smoothed it, got the sail the way I wanted, made sure I had the ship saved just in case I had to revert, and then combine them all together into the final product. So I'm going to go in a little bit more detail on how to do the body of the ship. So right now I'm looking for a template I did. When I had done 1/4 of the ship, I saved as a template. And I'm going to just reload that right now so that you can see what 1/4 of the ship looked like. And here it is. I'm just going to paste it. Now this is the ship before I had even smoothed it. As you can see, it's very rough. I did a center line, which is the lowest part of the boat there. It runs down the whole length of the ship. And then I just did a flat surface where the deck would be. And then I slowly started tapering up the edges and rounding them as I went. And I brought it up to a point at the very front there. Now, one thing I forgot to do is originally when I saved this, I then made some modifications. And one thing I did is I made it go up a little sharper on the point. And I also didn't bring up the sides nearly far enough. It really looks like you could walk off the end of this. It looks more like a raft. So I did one more row over here and built that up even further before I actually smoothed it. So I forgot to resave the template after doing that, so we're just going to go ahead and use this. It'll give you a really good idea of what I did. So once you have 1/4 of a ship, the secret is to get the rest of the ship. So I'm going to just repaste the template again, and I'm going to line it up exactly where it was before so I know I'm at the right height and I'm at the right forward to back. And then all I have to do is rotate it and then get the right left to right, the correct left to right distance. So I'm going to rotate it here. And when you rotate it, it doesn't rotate always the way I expect. It actually flipped it upside down. I said rotate, but it was actually Control V. It's a mirror image. And so now I have to rotate it back into the right direction. And we're going to go ahead and move it over till the center lines up. And the center is going to overlap. And so there's half the ship. Now at this point, I would copy this whole thing over again. And I would paste it again. and then I would rotate it, and I'd make the back of the ship by just lining up with the front of the ship. And then when you're done, you have one complete ship. So at that point, once you have the whole ship, I select the entire ship, and we're going to apply smoothing. You could also at this point change the material. So if you want it to be out of wood, of course, select the wood material. So let me get the whole ship here. And we'll change it to a wood grain. Select my paint tool. And there's our wooden ship. Now I'm going to reselect all this so that we can go ahead and smooth it. Now in order to use the smoothing tool, you have to have a minimum of one Vox in every direction as padding. Otherwise the smoothing does some unique things. If you haven't played with smoothing much, give that a shot. Try it where you don't have the padding. You'll get some different results than if you do. If you have the padding all around, it gives it an overall smoothness. If you don't have the one Vox padding, then it will smooth up to the Vox that's close to the edge, and it won't smooth that one. So I'm going to go ahead and smooth here, and I notice I don't have the whole thing selected, so I'm going to smooth this about 8 times. You see right there, I didn't have it selected, and there's the example of what happens when you don't have that padding. It didn't smooth the Vox that was touching that edge. But we're going to go ahead and let it go for here. I think you have an idea of what we did. So in here you see I have these benches. And the benches I just used the line tool. And the line tool doesn't typically work too well on a single Vox unless you go straight across. If you're perfectly horizontal, perfectly vertical, don't vary in angle at all, it works great. So for the benches it worked rather well, because I could tell when I'm perfectly lined up because it turns green. And I just made the benches too wide. And after I had the benches, I went ahead and smoothed out the bench to give it a little bit of a roundedness. And when I select it, I don't select the Voxes right where it joins the ship, because if I do, it's going to do something weird with the smoothing. So I go one Vox from the edge of the ship, and then I also have to do the padding all around. So if you look over here, you can see that it does a kind of a tapered look, which to me actually I like. It looks like the smoothing was only done, but not right where it joined, like the original was kept square. So then it's just a matter of putting padding all the way around on that and smoothing that out. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create a shield. I selected the white stucco, and I'm going to change this to the sphere mode. And I did a sphere second from the smallest size. And I'm going to get my single Vox selection tool, and we're going to select the equator right out of that, just the very center row. And this is going to be the round surface by which the shield's made. Just trying to select pretty much a dinner plate right out of the center. Alright, so we're going to cut that out. So you can see what I did. I just cut the middle out. And I'm going to come over here and paste it on the ground. And I'm going to raise it up. And I'm going to rotate it. And then that's the shields that I have over there. And I just took my paint tool and drew whatever pattern I wanted on the shield before I then merged it into the ship. So here's what it would look like if I merge into the ship. Now this one doesn't have a pattern, but I actually want to paste it right in front of the ship. I don't want to actually put it right where that wood material is. So if you see, I'll come one in front of the ship here. Looks good there. If we go look on the inside, you'll see it looks like the other ship did. So I did try to make a thinner shield before, but when I do the additional smoothing, it does something really funny with the pattern. I didn't like the way it looked, so I ended up having to go with a little bit thicker shield than I wanted. That was in order to keep the pattern I wanted. Alright, let's take a look at the sail. So at the top there, I don't know if they call it the jib, but it's the bar that goes across that's on the top of the mast. So I just had to create a wooden bar for the sail to set against. And it was very similar to how we created this wooden plank that the people sit on. So let's take a look at the sail. So I tried to make it very thin to make it look like material. And you see it's kind of concave like the wind's blowing it. And I did all this by using just a very thin Vox. In some of my older videos you may have saw how to make shelves and stuff, which are just really thin boxes that you can stack together. So what I'm going to do is a single Vox. I'm going to do it 5 high, and then I'm going to delete the bottom 2. And so that will give us only really 3 Voxes high. I'm trying to get that bottom one there. Okay, so I have 3 Voxes stacked on top of each other. I'm going to use my selection tool. We're going to select 1 Vox padding around the whole thing. And this is so we can smooth it out. It's tricky getting these corners sometimes. So we got extra Voxes on the top and sides. I'm going to put 2 on this side too. Alright, so there's extra Voxes all the way around. Now you want to smooth this probably at least 7 times, maybe 8 or 9, depending on how thick or thin you want the sail. Typically fabric you're going to want pretty thin. So I just have really 3 very thin Voxes, and I'm going to select that and copy it. Now to get the sail, it's just a matter of pasting these side by side. And as you paste them side by side, it will go from being a thin 3 high bar to being more of something flat, a flat surface. So I'll show you here. The way you also get the concaveness is we're going to also stagger them as we go. So I'm not going to do the whole cell because it took quite a while to do the whole cell. But we're going to go ahead and paste this here. And up there you're going to just pretend like there's a bar that we're going to do this from. We're not going to actually add the bar in this demo here. Alright, so we're going to paste it right here. And I'm going to get it off the ground. And once I have it pasted, I'm just going to move over 1 to the side, paste again, 1 more to the side. I'm going to just keep repeating this process. You would do this for the whole width of the cell. Or if you want, you can do half of a cell and then copy and paste them together. So once you have the whole width of the cell, like I said, we're just doing a small one, then you go up 3 and you're going to go either forward or back 1. And I forgot to do that here. Let me undo this. So what I did was I came forward 1, and that gives it the staggered bowing effect. And once you go across the whole distance, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go up 3 more, come forward 1 more. You're going to repeat the process back. Oh, I'm over 1 too many. Let me undo that. Alright, right there should be right. And then I'm going to just keep moving over. Alright, now at some point you're going to not want to bow any more forward. and you're going to start stair stepping them backwards. So you see how right there would be the center where the bow is, and then after that point you're going to want to start repeating the process, but you're going to repeat it where you're moving backwards. Now to get that bottom, I just started lifting them up, so instead of coming down a full 3, I'd only come down a 2. So on the cell I painted a dragon, and I wasn't terribly happy about that. If you look at traditional Viking ships, normally they're vertical stripes. So that's what I was trying to do here. And I did that by taking the selection tool and making sure it's going through the fabric on both sides. And I did 2 voxes wide. And then I just keep moving it over. So I reselect the selection tool, move it over 4, and then paint it again. And I'm not terribly sure I like this pattern either, but I think I might use it over the dragon just because it's more traditional. But so that's how you do the cell. Thank you everyone. Happy building. See you next time.